In the land of Egypt, beneath the scorching sun and amidst towering temples and golden idols, a shadow stretched across a people once welcomed, now enslaved. The Israelites, descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, shepherds from Canaan, had grown in number. Once the honored guests of Pharaoh, they had become a threat in the eyes of a new regime. Suspicion bred fear, fear bred tyranny, and tyranny begot oppression. From the halls of power came a chilling decree, a command to cast every Hebrew son into the Nile. A river of life was turned into a place of death, but from that darkness came light. In a modest dwelling, amid cries of anguish and prayers whispered under breath, a child was born. Jochebed, a woman of faith and trembling courage, wrapped her newborn son in silence. She had seen what Pharaoh's men could do, how infants disappeared, never to be held again. But this child was different. He was beautiful, not just in form, but in spirit. There was a glow in his gaze, even as a babe. Perhaps she knew, or perhaps she hoped. But she would not surrender him to death. For 3 months, she nursed him, cradled him, shielded him, until the cries grew louder, until the danger crept too close. With a trembling heart and steady hands, she prepared a tiny vessel, a basket of papyrus lined with tar and pitch, a miniature ark born of desperation and hope. She set it gently upon the waters of the Nile, not to abandon her son, but to entrust him to God. Found by Pharaoh's daughter downriver, at a place where the reeds swayed in rhythm with the current, Pharaoh's daughter stepped into the sacred waters to bathe. And there, caught in the reeds, was the basket. A cry pierced the quiet, a Hebrew child, weeping. Her heart moved. Compassion stirred where there could have been contempt. "This is one of the Hebrew children," she said, yet she did not call for the guards. Instead, she gathered him in her arms. Against the tide of political hatred and royal decree, a pagan princess defied death with an act of kindness. Miriam, the baby's sister, watching nearby, seized the moment. "Shall I fetch a Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?" And so, in a divine twist of irony, Jochebed was hired to care for her own son. She held him once more, not in secret, but in safety. She named him Moses, drawn out, for he was lifted from the water, just as he would one day draw an entire nation out of bondage. Prince of Egypt, son of slaves, raised in the courts of Pharaoh, Moses wore fine linen and gold. He walked marble corridors and learned the wisdom of the Egyptians, mathematics, astronomy, governance, and war. His name was spoken with respect, but beneath the polished surface beat the heart of a Hebrew. His mother, Jochebed, had planted seeds early, stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, of a God who makes covenants and delivers his people. Moses had not forgotten. He watched the whip fall on his people's backs. He heard their cries rise with the heat of the day. And inside him, a storm began to build. A choice and a crime. One day, as the sun beat down on brick and blood, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Fury overtook him. He looked both ways. No one in sight. One blow, one death. The body hidden beneath the sand. But the next day, the truth was known. His people did not cheer him. The Egyptians would not protect him. From the grandeur of Egypt to the barren wilderness of Midian, he journeyed alone, disgraced, exiled, hunted. 40 years in the wilderness. In Midian, the prince became a shepherd. He married Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, a priest of Midian. He led flocks across dry hills and stony paths. The man who once commanded soldiers now listened to the bleating of sheep. Years passed, decades. He had fled Egypt hoping to be a deliverer, but the call never came, until one day it did. The burning bush near Mount Horeb, as the sun cast its red glow across the desert, Moses saw something strange, a bush engulfed in flame, yet not consumed. He approached, and then came the voice, "Moses, Moses, here I am. Do not come closer. Remove your sandals, for the place you are standing is holy ground." The God of his fathers had come, not in thunder nor in dream, but in fire, living, holy, and consuming. "I have seen the affliction of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries. I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people out." But Moses, now humble and broken, protested, "Who am I that I should go?" "I will be with you," came the reply. A reluctant prophet, a divine commission, even with the promise of God's presence, Moses faltered. "I am slow of speech," he said. God answered not with rebuke, but reassurance. "Who made man's mouth? Go, I will help you speak." Still, Moses hesitated. So God appointed Aaron, his brother, to be his voice. Staff in hand, Moses returned to Egypt, not as a prince, but as a prophet. Confronting Pharaoh, before Pharaoh stood an old shepherd. Behind him stood the God of the universe. "Let my people go," Moses declared, but Pharaoh's heart was hard. He would not yield. And so came the plagues. Water turned to blood, frogs, lice, flies, disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness. Still Pharaoh refused. Then came the final blow, the death of every firstborn in Egypt. At midnight, a cry rose from every Egyptian house. But in Israelite homes, marked by lamb's blood, there was silence. Pharaoh broke. "Go," he said. And the Exodus began. A legacy begins. Through parted seas and wilderness trials, Moses would go on to lead Israel to the foot of Mount Sinai, where the fire of God would once again descend, not to call one man, but to call a nation. But that is a story for another day. Moses was not a myth. He was not a legend forged in fantasy. He was a man, flawed, afraid and frail, yet chosen by God for a purpose greater than himself. From river reeds to royal courts, from burning bush to Pharaoh's throne, from desert exile to divine calling, his life reminds us that God does not choose the strongest. He strengthens the chosen. From the fire of affliction to the flame of divine calling, Moses reminds us that God still speaks, often in the wilderness, always with purpose. The story is ancient, but its truth is eternal. Until next time, may you walk boldly in the call God has placed on your life.